The Prime Minister sets up a team to deal with Tobago's self-government. The Chief Secretary does not support the Eastern Caribbean Ferry Service, and a call to urgently address incursions by the Ministry of Tobago Development.
InfoUpdate,
bringing you the latest
news, views, and reviews,
along with responses,
comments, and events
affecting you.
Brought to you by the Information Division of the Tobago House of Assembly.
The Prime Minister, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, has set up a team to deal with the issue of autonomy for Tobago. The Chief Secretary, Orville London, had been pushing for a meeting between the central government and a Tobago team to discuss Tobago's demands, but up until recently nothing was done. Last week, the Chief Secretary finally got a response from Mrs. Persad-Bissessar. He has since replied, and here's an excerpt from that letter.
That the Tobago team will comprise Mr. Orville London, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Mr. Hucho Charles, political leader of the Platform of Truth and former Chief Secretary, Mr. Stanford Calendar of the People's National Movement and former Minister of Government, and Mr. Alan Richards, former Chief Administrator, Tobago House of Assembly. Mr. Ashworth Jack, the political leader of the Tobago Organization of the People, has been invited to be part of the Tobago team.
Mr. Jack was initially part of the Forum of Political Leaders, the group set up to examine Tobago's quest for self-government, but he only attended one meeting. The Prime Minister's team includes the Minister of Arts and Multiculturalism, the Environment Minister, the Minister of Food Production, and the Tobago Development Minister. The Chief Secretary says he looks forward to the start of the discussions.
And we expect that that initial meeting will discuss things like the terms of reference, hopefully have a time frame as to when these discussions could be concluded, because we're not looking forward to any open-ended, process.
Mr. London has also recommended that the first meeting be held on February 27th. The Chief Secretary also dealt with the use of the fast ferries for an Eastern Caribbean service. Davia Chambers explains.
Almost 3 years ago, it was announced that the central government plans to establish the new regional route. The idea is to use the ferries which service Tobago. The architects of the plan felt this would work because the vessels would only be used during so-called off-peak times. The Chief Secretary, however, objects to this and raised the issue with the Minister of Transport, who'd promised to discuss further. This has not happened. Instead, an announcement has been made suggesting the ferries will be used as planned. Mr. London says this is a betrayal of trust. He has written to the minister on the issue.
At that time, you gave me the assurance that it was just a proposal and that a final decision would not be made until meaningful discussions were held with the Tobago House of Assembly. In fact, Minister, a meeting was scheduled for Monday, January the 19th, 2015 to discuss this very issue, and it was postponed at your request.
The Chief Secretary shared his reservations.
I am not convinced, Minister, that due consideration has been given to the impact of this initiative on the quality of service on the sea bridge, and by extension the quality of life of the people of Tobago and the rest of the country. We cannot dispute that all the problems on the sea bridge have not been addressed, and I consider it insensitive and irresponsible that a further commitment should be made without any assurance that the present problems have been addressed.
He's still hoping they can meet and discuss the issue. I'm Davia Chambers for InfoUpdate.
The incursions by the Ministry of Tobago Development in THA-designated areas was also addressed. Alyssa Crosby picks up that story.
Last year, the Chief Secretary presented a document to the Prime Minister highlighting the Tobago House of Assembly's concerns. Back then, Mrs. Persad-Bissessar publicly said she would not tolerate illegality, but since then, there's been no movement on the matter.
I reiterate, Madam Prime Minister, that failure to address this issue will continue to undermine the integrity of the process and fuel the perception that a central government which is prepared to support attacks on the limited autonomy now available to the Tobago House of Assembly cannot be seriously committed to the granting of self-government to Tobago.
Mr. London says the extended silence is troubling. THA complained about interference by the Ministry of Tobago Development in areas of sport and fisheries, to name a few. I'm Alyssa Crosby for InfoUpdate.
That's it from all of us at the Department of Information. I'm Lois Vincent, and you've been listening to InfoUpdate.